Something I've noticed over my thousands of hours of playing Siege is that you can tell a lot about a player based on the operator they select. This video is going to go over all of the stereotypes surrounding roamers and the operators they choose. Now obviously don't take these stereotypes too seriously. Not everyone will fall into these categories, and this is mainly meant to be for fun. Now let's go ahead and get into the video. Pulse players almost always do the same thing every round. They pick Pulse, they go below the bomb site, and they wait for their moment to get a free nitro kill. However, these players have a real problem. They are way too fixated on their gadgets. These players will have moments like this all the time, or they will just sit below the bomb site the whole round while your team is dying on the site just to get a single kill. You'd also think because of their gadgets, they would communicate a lot more, but no, they don't. These players tend to be absolutely silent. They also, a lot of the times, are very new. You unlock Pulse really early on, and he's not really picked that much in higher ranks, so most players who are on Pulse are really low ranked. There is a small minority of people who pick Pulse and are legitimately just good players, but the terrible players outnumber them so much that I think the stereotype stands. Now, Cava players are the most selfish players in Siege. They will do no prep to help your team set up the bomb site, and they will immediately leave on their own when the round starts. They will do whatever it takes to down a player and get an interrogation. If that means letting you die so they can sneak up behind the enemy, they will do it. And don't expect them to ever help you. If your team is dying on the bomb site, they will wait till the last possible second, so that way they can try to pull off the flank of the sentry. These players also tend to spend most of the round on the other side of the map so that they can pull off their flanks. This means they are likely the worst kind of roamers to have on your team because they won't be that useful to you, and a lot of times they'll just end up getting you killed so that they can try to get it down. Now for Legion players, most of them just pick him just because he is busted in the meta right now, and that's why these players are all over the place, and they're kind of hard to narrow down to a specific set of characteristics. However, in my experience, these players are some of the best teammates you can have. They are actually pretty smart, they will help set up the site before going off on their roam, and they have solid mechanical skill. The only funny thing about these players is you'll die and spectate them, and notice they have 5 of their goos sitting in their inventory because they forgot to use them. However, these players are still pretty nice to have on your team, and you can't really go wrong with having them on the roster. Ela players think they are much better than they actually are. They pick her just for the gun because they want to run around and get kills. That's it. When they spawn in during the prep phase, they throw down all their traps on random doors with little regard on how good their placements actually are, and then they immediately leave the site to go roam. And when they roam, they are extremely aggressive. They run towards every sound they can hear, and if you give them a call out of where an enemy is, they will run straight towards them to try to get the kill. And let's just say it doesn't work out for them. My teammates suck, man, dude. I don't even know how I'm losing this game, dude. Like, come on. This shit's actually getting out of hand. The game's just putting me with terrible teammates, dude. You also see these players spamming quick leans and crouching a lot to try to make themselves look better than they actually are. Other players are also extremely toxic. They'll blame everything on the team when you lose, and if they manage to be at the top of the team, they will make sure that you know that. So if you have a teammate auto-locking Ela every round, be prepared for a painful match. Most Vigil players are Boss G crutches, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. These players pick Vigil and a lot of times go absolutely nuts. Because of these players being really good at getting kills with Vigil, they can be a huge asset for helping your roam game last longer. However, these players have a huge flaw, and that is that if you take their operator, they will be in for a bad time. Because of these players being so reliant on the Boss G to do well, when they don't have it, they perform horribly. Also, Vigil players, when you take their operator, will get really mad and will become extremely toxic. Dude, if my teammate doesn't get off Vigil, I'm gonna team kill him. I don't care. Vigil's the only operator I want to play. Like, I genuinely don't even care anymore. Give me Vigil, bro. Give me Vigil. Yeah, bro, this guy's getting team killed. Yeah, that's my Vigil. That's my Vigil. This can make these players pretty annoying, but as long as you just let them play Vigil, they should be all right to have on your team. Alibi players are very similar to Ela players. They are basically mute, they will never communicate with the team, and their entire goal is to get kills. That's why they pick Alibi. Her MX4 Storm allows pretty much any player to do well, and so Alibi players are drawn to her for that reason. These players are so focused on gunfights that as soon as the prep phase starts, they will immediately go out on their own without even thinking about their gadget or helping reinforce the site. However, in my experience, these players differ from other roamers in the fact that they are really focused on spawn peeks and runouts. They will go to windows, throw their gadget it down to get enemies to shoot them, and then they will use that information to kill attackers leaving the spawn. However, this is really risky, and these players will always be the first ones dead in a round, because even if their spawn peaks work a lot of the time, they will get traded off. These teammates can be fun to have on your team because the spawn peak strats they try to pull off can be pretty unique and funny to watch, but generally you'd be better off with other teammates that aren't so focused on getting kills. Mozzy players are some of the most utility-focused roamers in the entire game. These players prioritize their utility and use it to the best of their ability. During the prep phase, they help set up the bomb site, place their pests around when they plan to roam, and during the round, they are communicating. The only negative trait of these players that I have noticed in my time playing the game is that a lot of Mozzy players hyper-focus on their drones. They will hack a Brava drone or a Twitch drone, and then they spend so much time on the newly hacked drone that they get themselves killed. But despite these players' flaws, they are some of the smarter players in the community. Orex players, on the other hand, hyperfixate on one thing, and that is shield operators. These players will only pick Orex when their enemy has been picking shield operators consistently, and nothing makes these players more mad than enemies who use them. Orex players will typically in the prep phase be focused on making rotates and head holes, but they never reinforce. It's almost like they forgot about the keybind. They will make the rotates and immediately leave the bomb site to go roam. And when I said these guys hyperfixate on shield operators, I wasn't joking. Throughout their entire roam, they will be listening for noises of a shield operator, and they will chase them down. They will also constantly ask the team where the shield operators are so that they can take them head on. Once they find a shield operator on the other team, they will immediately try to charge them down and knock them over, even if it's risky. This can cause these players to die a lot because they will be so focused on trying to knock over shield operators that they will make themselves vulnerable to their teammates. Plus, any shield player, as soon as they see an Orex, will expect them to act this way. However, the funniest part about these guys is that when they die, they get even more mad at the enemy team. These players can get so mad that it acts in their detriment. It causes them not to think straight, and it makes them really bad teammates to have. And if the enemy team isn't picking shields, they'll just run out constantly, which is arguably even worse. Solace players are basically the same as Pulse players, except they are a little less fixated on their gadget. These players, once the round has started, will make their way below the bomb site and spend most of their roam down there. They want to do this to use their gadget like a Pulse player. However, in my experience, these players are way less focused on that. If they see enemy gadgets somewhere nearby on the floor with them, they will go and slow down those attackers. If they realize the enemies aren't going anywhere where they planned, they will rotate to help the team. You typically won't catch them at the end of the round when your team is dying on site, just sitting below baiting for a kill like a Pulse player would. Also, in my experience, these players are typically higher skilled as well. They will communicate with the team the information they get, and they are team players. The only issue that these players have, in my experience, is that they can get too aggressive because they think since they don't see any gadgets near them, they are safe. However, this is not always the case, especially with their gadget's radius being so small. So they can end up getting killed and caught off guard quite easily. However, I think these players can be a good asset because of their communication and their high level of game knowledge. Scopos players are also pretty knowledgeable. The reason I say this is because these players think on the macro level. That's the reason why they pick Scopos in the first place. When I say they think on the macro level, I mean they picture what is going on within the entire map, and they act on that by choosing when to teleport to their other robot. This makes Scopos players actually pretty good at their job when roaming. Delaying time. Many Scopos players will spend a lot of time away from the site, and then right when the enemy has surrounded them and they can't escape, they'll teleport back to the safety of the bomb site, and they'll just act like nothing happened. And also, since these guys need to have so much information, they tend to be extremely communicative. They will call out to the team, ask for info from the rest of you, and they tend to be less toxic than your average players because they want cooperation from you. This is why I love Scopos players, because in my experience, they are super communicative and they have pretty big brains. Obviously, there are exceptions to this, but I don't think they're the norm. Anyways, that about wraps up today's video. Let me know if you think I missed any stereotypes, and let me know if you've run into any of these stereotypes yourself in the comments down below. If you enjoyed today's video, I make these content just like this twice a week, so go subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter if you don't want to miss the next upload. Also, if you have any operator stereotypes of your own you'd like to share, feel free to leave them in the comments, and maybe they'll be in a future episode. Also, make for sure to show Soundsmith some love on YouTube for the series idea. Now, if you want to watch another video just like this one, a video be popping up on your screen right now, then I'm sure you all enjoy. I'll see you next time, friends, and peace.